Alright guys, Bear Scott Stadium here on November 25th, 2024. It is night 2 of Thanksgivingfest 2024, the second annual. We have 7 nights, not to rock, 7 nights to relax. That's what we should call it. Thanksgiving 2024. 7 nights to relax. That's our working title. Before I get to the last night's feature presentation, some house cleaning involving the Saturday night feature presentation, In Search of the Historic Jesus, 1979. I went through a lot of what I liked about it and the actors' names, some of the not big name actors, but respected actors that showed up in that movie. Of course, this is the third of the final, the 3 docudramas hosted by the great Brad Crandall. Gotta love him. So one that I did not mention in the cast listing was playing the leper was David Nelson, who is credited as the leper that Jesus heals. He's got a thing over his head, and then he heals him, and his face comes back looking normal. I uploaded this clip to YouTube if you want to check it out yourself. But I do remember seeing David Nelson's name the last time I watched this film in the credits and on IMDb. Like, wow, he's in this. The guy, the oldest son from Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, and it's perfectly plausible that it would be him, because while he didn't act much after the show ended, I think he had a total of like maybe 20 credits, just really bit roles, kind of in the late 70s into the 80s. Things like Up in Smoke, 1978. The Cheech and Chong, he's in that in a small role. He was in High School USA, 1983, as like a janitor in that movie. And High School USA had a lot of little kind of some former actors from TV shows. If you've ever seen that, it's not a very good movie. I'm kind of surprised he didn't show up in Kentucky Fried Movie, because they had some guys, like Tony Dow and guys like that, Eddie Haskell's, but he was not in that. But he was in the 1990, I guess, romantic comedy maybe, 1990 Johnny Depp film called Cry Baby, which was about people in Wire Club. But he had a tiny role in that movie even. So he did have some acting roles, but he didn't act much after the show ended. He was mainly did little directing, and not very good. There was one movie that I watched a few months ago that's a horror film, and I did a full review, I think, about this film. It's called Death Screams from 1982. Kind of a low-budget horror film that he directed, and it is terrible. Like, this movie is just one of the worst early 80s horror films I've ever seen. So do not watch that film. So that gives you an idea of the kind of stuff the kind of dreck that he directed. But after watching that scene again in Search of Historic Jesus, seeing him in it, and then looking at, I had to look up a picture of him from a 1979 interview and compare it, and then discuss this with Bolts, and we looked at how based on just the facial features alone, it's not that David Nelson. So I did contact IMDb and make this known that it was not that David Nelson. And as of this morning, they did get back to me, and they did make the proper change, and they submitted it as a new David Nelson, because I couldn't find anyone else with that name around the same time with a picture or anything. So they just, at their discretion, they changed it from the Ozzie and Harriet David Nelson to a different David Nelson. It's definitely not him. The the actor that plays the leper he's got like missing teeth, and his nose is different. So anyway, we got that squared away for integrity's sake. But last night's feature presentation, night one of Thanksgivingfest, was for Peters, was Salt in 2012. It was a pretty good short film, a first time viewing. Pretty nice short film involving a little boy who makes a pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving, and he accidentally puts salt instead of sugar into it. And then when the family, it looks like it's all adults and no other kids at the table, but after the family's done eating their meal, he breaks out his pumpkin pie and then passes it around. They slice it up and they're eating it, and they all act like it's good. Just so it's a pretty good film. Just for appreciating his efforts, even though it tastes terrible. So if you have 3 minutes to spare, that's how long the film is. Check it out, free on YouTube. I forget there's only 2 people credited in this. One of them's last name is Kane, but there's more than 2 people. There's no more than 2 actors. There's like maybe 8 or so sitting around the table. All right, so that's last night's feature presentation, night 1 of Thanksgivingfest, and then night 2. What's gonna be? Maybe redo something from last year, maybe something different. Maybe one for all the marbles. So, how are you enjoying your Thanksgivingfest so far, boys? Hope you're relaxing with it. So, all right, so see you for night 2. This is kind of strange, guys. There's somebody coming back here. That's weird. It's going into that little shed. So, the trees, the leaves there. Basketball court's now empty. It's not a complete winter look, but it's definitely closer than we were. You can see a little fall right there. So you can see like winter, fall. So you get kind of a little mix of both this time of year here at Bear Scott, but we're not to the full bare trees yet, but getting closer. It's good to be at Bear Scott Stadium at the beginning days of Thanksgivingfest. Have a good night.